More trunk panel bodywork, everybody's favorite. Hi everyone, and welcome to the channel about kit cars and other car topics. If you like what you see, please subscribe and hit the notification buttons below and share with others on social media. So, as you know, my videos have been getting longer since I've started doing the body work, and it's just taken a lot of time. It's my first time doing it, and I want to be cautious as I go. And so far, you know, everything comes oversized, and so it's been on the outside of this trunk, and now I finally got it to where the trunk lid is sitting inside this ledge. But now we have to actually gap it and get it centered and gapped. So one of the things you have to worry about is you just can't go through and cut all your material off of one side and off of one side, because now your mounts for your hinges aren't going to line up, the trunk latch is not going to line up, and this actual bow is not going to line up. So if I trim all the top off and then I shift everything up to get my gap, this is going to come out here and not just line up perfectly at this. So I got to really watch what I'm doing and make sure that I'm trimming from the correct edge to get this thing to line up correctly. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm sure it's going to be a pretty decent sized video because it's just a slow process to get this to line up. Now, if I've done this before, or I was one of the guys at Factory 5, I bet they could do this trunk within an hour, get the whole thing trimmed in and gapped in an hour. Unfortunately, this is my first time doing it, and it's a slow process. And I'll say one other thing. So when I was doing the dashes and trimming doors and different things like that, I have the material sitting right in front of me, and when I go to take my tape and just kind of get everything lined up, it seemed to work out almost flawlessly. However, when I've done this with the trunk, these lines aren't straight. They're all bowing a little bit or curving a little bit this way, and that's not necessarily the issue, but when I go to run that tape line and then I trim it and sand it down and I bring it back, I'll see like a little like divot or, you know, bump in the area, and it's like I can't seem to get my tape line straight on this trunk. And it could be because I'm leaning in to see here, or I'd have to get in the back of the car and look down. But you know, even when your perspective changes on where you are with respect to where you're looking, for whatever reason, I just can't get the tape lines to get nice and straight on this. So I'm going to probably start using rulers, use my little guide that I've been using to run markers down the side. So this has been a little bit more difficult for me, where the other stuff seems to be going no problem. So that's the only thing that I could think that's changed, is that it's a bigger area and it's hard for me to see it exactly, but not sure. So we're gonna hop to it.
So then you gotta take this off, right?
Well, no, what I want to do is
So the trunk don't
I
move.
want to verify this line. I want to verify
Okay.
this line a little bit more since.
Yeah, this is actually closed as far as it can go, so it's perfect. I don't know if we'll be able to see that. That's what I'm saying, if you had a piece of white tape or masking tape, or even this blue tape, and put it right here, then this would show the pencil line real nice. Then you take a razor blade and just cut this, and this will leave the tape on here. Then you.
If you're able to do that, I'm not able to do that, but if you're able to do that, then if you want to do that, that's fine.
Okay. There you go. This did drop. Huh?
Yeah, but that's that's what's making this thing very difficult. Is
Well, I'm saying that because of the gap, but this all looks good.
well, we just got to choose, right, and finalize. Because you could keep dicking around. That's why I don't want to take it off, because it's like, let's just do all the lines.
Yeah, no, this is tight up in here and that's tight up in there. This line is parallel. This is good.
Okay.
I think it's good.
But they told me don't cut one side, because otherwise the bow is not going to match the car. You got to trim from all four sides.
Yes, yes.
Which I took a good.
And this is centered here, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Within reason.
yeah. I could see it moved a few times here, but yeah, this is all pretty lined up. Wait, I'm gonna go that way, what, a 16th? Not even a 16th.
Well, yeah, it's just hard to tell now. But at this point, it doesn't matter. That's what we trimmed.
Right.
So worst case,
So then this has to come off now?
and then I cut it.
Yeah, okay.
So the best case is I trim more off of here. Worst case, I have to trim an exact amount off of here and then an exact amount off of here too,
That 16th or 8th of an inch ain't gonna make any difference in this. I'm telling you.
Right.
Because of the shape of the fiberglass. It's not perfect. It's not perfect.
And so
So yeah, you could. might be
you're
able to-
saying that I shouldn't have this cut like this, I should cut it down a little more like this?
Wait. What are we saying?
Well, I could see white, right? So you're saying it needs to be chopped in a little bit more like that.
Yes, yes, because of its thickness,
Right.
like over here, see it's on a little bit on an ankle,
Right.
okay? Yeah.
And it looks like the rest of it's pretty decent. It's just this area that it's
Yeah,
kind of flaring
right
out.
here it flares up a little, and that's here, that's this. This is fiberglass, this ain't gonna be perfect.
Right.
There's no way that, yeah, then this will go down. This is like holding it up, maybe a 16th, but that's gonna be done when the hinges are in.
So this weekend, I had some unexpected guests. My father and my sister came down to visit me, which I'm totally happy about. That's very nice because I don't get to see them too often. However, my whole weekend of, hey, I haven't had a chance to work on a car in a while, I need to bust this out, just got annihilated, right? So, of course, they're sleeping one day, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to come out here because I'm a morning person, and I'm going to bust this out. So I started measuring everything, and that's what you saw in the last few minutes of videos. I was measuring everything up. And so I got it all done, and then I was like, nah, it's not good enough. And so I pulled all the tape back off, and I started over and realigned, and I got it perfect, just totally perfect. And I'm like, great, I got everything dialed in, it's taped off. All I have to do is, when my guests leave, I'm going to take it outside, and I'm going to start cutting away, hack it, but I don't have to think about it anymore, it's done. So I'm telling my dad this story. Now, my dad, he's been a custom home builder. He's super finished carpenter, high end. He can do anything with his hands. He's phenomenal at it. And of course, he's retired at this point. But so I'm telling him about, what I did this morning and all that stuff. I was like, yeah, I got everything measured out. It's all ready to go. He's like, cool. Let me check it out. And I'm thinking to myself, well, there's no need to, or it's done. But he comes on out and he looks at it and he's like, what size did you say that was supposed to be? And I'm like, oh, 3/16. He's like, you put 3/8. Like, son of a... So sure enough, we get out the measurer and I put 3/8 and not 3/16. So thank God he came out here and checked it out and saw that I was going to have a major gap in my door size. It would have been too small. So then he's like, well, do you got a compass? Because I was telling him I'm having a really hard time transferring one line to the other, and I made this little jig, but it's too tight on the sides to use that jig. He's like, do you have a compass? And I'm like, well, I got a compass that fits a pencil from third grade, but I don't have, something that fits a mark or whatever. He's like, no worries, let's do that. So we ended up using some acetone, cleaning up all the edges, and then this is great. So he's like, do you have, the calipers or whatever, the measuring calipers? I'm like, yeah, I got one of those. So I grab it, pull it out, and he doesn't even turn it on. The digital readout's not even on. He's like, yeah, it's about 3/16 right there. All right, so he hands it to me, and we start going. I turn the thing on, and I grab my calculator. I'm like, 3 divided by 8, and it's like, I think it's 0.1875. Well, him eyeballing it was 0.1840. So hundredths off, right? So I'm like, holy crap, he's dead on with this stuff. So sure enough, we got it all busted out, and he actually did all the scribing and helped me out with everything, and it's just now it's ready to cut. So it's a different day, and I'm going to hop out there and trim this thing up. And so we got the 3 sides figured out. The bottom I'm not really sure what to do with yet, but we're going to go ahead and just get these 3 sides done, and then I can verify what I want to do with the bottom. All right, so I noticed when I was working on my trunk that, the bottom wasn't sinking in, and I was thinking, geez, am I off with the, the actual bow of the lid itself? Does it need to be up or down or whatever? But turns out, I started putting this on. This was the first area, and then I went around, and I didn't have this all the way in. So this was actually running into this part here, this little popped out part. So that's why stuff wasn't hopping in. So once I finalized that came out good. Now, they say, in the directions that they say you could get up into the car to get up here and, scribe your little area here. But as you can see, there's just so much in the way. You could really twist, and with the lid on, which you have to have it on to do this, you only have like a 3-inch clearance here that you're sticking your arm up into, and it's possible. But that's why I actually took off the waterfall, because now I can stick my hand in here and actually get to where I need to go. However, as you can see, the holes are on the left side, and you really could only get your arm in on the right side. So you kind of have to grab the marker around and then try to mark it without ruining your paint job and screwing up your paint job, which we'll see how that is when I look underneath. But that gives you a really good idea of what it took to do that. And, I feel like I have the trunk pretty much dialed in, and there's probably a little bit of straightening and finessing that it needs, but I'm going to wait until my buddy Greg checks it out. But for the most part, my gapping's pretty good. I think I have the bottom gapped perfectly. The difference is here, it's really easy to create a gap because this is almost, it's not 100%, vertical, but it's vertical enough that it's really easy to tell. However, here, you kind of have this flange kind of going down. And so when the edge comes here, it's not like an edge like here. It's an edge that's coming off like 30 degrees or 20 degrees down. So it's a little bit more difficult to figure out like what should that gap be. You can't really use paint sticks because you can't really see what's going on. You can't really measure it. It's kind of difficult. So you just have to pinpoint it. And then you don't really know, like, should the edge be square like this? Should it be cut back on the same angle? Is it just going to be rounded as normal? Not really sure. But so then as we were putting the riv nuts in, I actually ran out of riv nuts, which I'm a little surprised about that. So I'm missing one here. And the next step would be to install that onto the hinges and then get my panels inside and get the actual lid, I don't know what you call it, lid pole. We'll call it the lid pole for now. I don't know what it's called, that holds up your actual hood. So at this point, I can't source any of these locally, so I'm going to probably have to order some in. So I would love to just finalize this, but that's a 1-minute thing, so I'm not worried about it too much. So I think that's it for the trunk lid video series. Have a great day.